the league, went straight for the title. No time to idle, I'm finna get it, put that on the Bible. This is survival, gotta treat every move made like the final. One by a mile, nobody believe it, they all in denial. Hey, look at me, look at me, still in the show, that's the crook in me. They want me gone with the hook in me, asking why is he here like I shouldn't be. I've been on grind since Auto, 10,000 hours the motto. They see the bag is coming out, they flocking to me like I won the lotto. Dancing with the devil, there's no recital, I'm killing competition, ain't no revival. I shoot it to kill it, I'm aiming for vitals, I'm showing no mercy when facing my rivals. Snakes in the grass, they getting exposed, I know they be lurking, I'm watching them close. Acting like friends, but really they foes. Saw they be scheming and said adios. Yeah, I gotta get it. My enemies. I gotta get it. I gotta get it, don't mind it. Hey, back with a vengeance, back on the grinds, back to the business. Hey, God is my witness, they watching my moves like shows they binging. Hey, best keep distance, all of my haters send best the wishes. I get to the bag with the quickness, no I don't need no assistance, no. Yeah, no playing it safe, I said let's get it, you say not today. What can I say, you ain't gon' go for it, get out the way. Yeah, got no time to waste, can't be with me if you're not at my pace. You're not at my level, you're not in my race. One foot on the gas, I'm pushing the brakes. Dancing with the devil, there's no recital, I'm killing competition, ain't no revival. I shoot it to kill it, I'm aiming for vitals, I'm showing no mercy when facing my rivals. Snakes in the grass, they getting exposed, I know they be lurking, I'm watching them close. Acting like friends, but really they foes. Saw they be scheming and said adios. Yeah, I gotta get it. My enemies. I gotta get it, don't mind it. I gotta get it, don't mind it. I gotta get it, don't mind it.
Heroes fall to the ground, good luck getting up again. You better have a heart of steel. You look around, what's to come? You're gonna fight here to the end. You push too hard, now I make it real. Come on! We're gonna run you down, and we're gonna throw you out, and we're gonna run this town tonight. And we're gonna lay it down, better not come around. And we're gonna run this town tonight. Tonight. Tonight.
Live tonight from the virtual Darlington Raceway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the start of the playoffs as RaceSpot TV's coverage of the 2020 RealSimRacing Full Throttle Cup Series, powered by Boosted, gets set to drop the green flag on the Boosted.Club 125.
As we are
every Monday evening, happy that you're with us at RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network, where alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, happy to be joined by Justin Princeton, our producer, Hugo Luis. And Justin, it was just a week ago in a thrilling season finale at Daytona where we got one more new race winner, 10 of them, to kick off this 16-driver championship.
And that's what you have to love when it comes to Daytona, right? A chance for a first-time winner and a surprise winner. It was a race with a lot of drama. Many of the drivers who needed victories to get into the postseason ran up towards the front much of that race. And at the end, it came down to the top two drivers needing that said victory. Tonight, though, it's a whole different type of race. One where tire management is crucial. One where being precise is crucial. One where traffic management will be extremely crucial. It's going to be a stressful one tonight to start off this postseason, Evan.
This round is not going to be a walk in the park as we go racing, but this is how the points work out after our reset. So all those drivers, 17th on the back, Burke, Sexton, Durham, Kalis, they just missed out. All the drivers with an even 2,000 points qualified in on points. The rest of the drivers with some bonuses were race winners. 3 bonus points per race win, so Andrew Ferdinand's 5 race wins the most, nets him 15 bonus points. That's how he starts with the advantage. Of course, if you win a race in this round of 16, you'll automatically lock into the round of 12 and carry in a 3-point bonus for that one, Justin. But a lot of those names that did not make the cut, even the likes of Washington and Tice, those bubble drivers, were a lot more comfortable a month ago than they ended up being. That's because in the last 6 races of the regular season, we saw 6 different race winners, including 5 first-time winners on the year. It filled up those spots. I think last year in 2019, we only saw 5 different race winners. We had double that in the regular season this year, so it certainly made those drivers needing to get in on points a lot more difficult.
Absolutely, especially with the competition level kicking up especially this year, Evan. And I think that's in part why we've seen so many different winners, so many first-time winners as well. Many of these drivers who ended up coming away with valuable wins for the playoffs, mind you, were up in the front just about every single week. So it's going to be a challenging postseason battle, I think, this year, because there's no clear-cut favorite this year. Andrew Friedosh even might have a bit of a challenge with some of these races on the calendar. It's going to be a fun one to see who comes away with the 2020 championship.
Yeah, last year he was way out in front. Tonight you can see the likes of Eberhard Trudell. They are right there lockstep with him as we go into the round of 16. So let's talk playoffs, and it is very similar to how NASCAR does their playoffs in 2020. We'll have 4 rounds, 3 races apiece for the first 3 until we get down to a 4-driver winner-take-all finale at Phoenix International Raceway a little bit later on this season. But this round, Justin, consisting of course, Darlington here tonight, Richmond, and then Bristol. That's why I said that this is not a walk in the park of a round. Next round, you have a plate track in Talladega. You have the Charlotte Roval. That's going to present its own unique challenges. You got Martinsville. Of course, Phoenix as a finale, going to be a whole new challenge. But we'll talk more about that as this postseason rolls on. This is the short track round. So this could be a round where staying out of chaos really pays its dividends.
And keep in mind, you can even put Darlington into the chaotic mode, because with so many races here on the long run, there's been many times, Evan, where I've seen, especially in fixed setup racing, drivers smack the wall off turn 2 after 15-20 laps with the tire wear. The amount of fall-off is very big here, about 2 seconds in the span of 20 laps. So it's one where you need to be right on your marks to have a shot to win this type of a race. And with that it being fully nighttime tonight, already past 8 p.m. in sim time, with the track being very cool, these cars are going to be carrying a lot of speed around the racetrack, Evan. That means there's a chance that they could potentially burn off the right rears, as well as carry a lot of speed too much on the corner to smack said walls.
And this race as well is very much not the Southern 500. We're only racing tonight 125 laps, 170 miles, so much more of a sprint, but keeping the car in one piece. Still true, no matter how short or long the race is here. Let's talk about what are we funning for the 2020 playoffs. And as always, our champion at RealSimRacing walks away with the Full Throttle Cup. Andrew Friedage is looking to become a 3-time champion to back up his titles from 2018 and 2019, Justin. But also, not only will the driver who wins the championship get the Full Throttle Cup, they'll also walk away with $200 cash, a $75 gift card from our friends over at Abruzzi Racewear, and as well a Panini NASCAR prize pack from our friends over at Legacy Sports Cards. So you got the trophy, you got the cash, and you got some added bonuses. They would do it if it was just for the bragging rights, don't get me wrong, but I think that little bit extra on top for the championship purse is going to incentivize these drivers to get up on the wheel and go at it. And as we say that, the qualifying session has drawn to a close. We are ready to go racing in the playoffs for the first time in 2020. So let's go trackside and take a look at tonight's Race Spot TV starting grid. Pole position goes to Sam Niato, a non-playoff driver. Takes pole with a 27.120. He'll be joined by Daniel Eberhardt in the red. That will signify your playoff drivers in second. Joseph Tice, Rhett McBride get it up on row 2. They're going to be third and fourth position. Again, both of those drivers are playoff cars. The drivers in gray, not. So Malik Gray 5th, Grant Davis P6, Kyle Trudell, Gary Sexton 7th and 8th, with Michael Kaczynski and Dane Cruz, your top 10.
Adam Benefield starts just outside, said top 10, 11 spot alongside Brian Chambliss. Deep inside the top 15, it's Andrew Friedage in 13th. Michael Arias starting alongside him. Jeremy Miller starts 15th, was contender last week at Daytona. Matthew Mara starts in 16th. Thomas George in 17th. Sean Kalis deep in the field in 18th. Tom Morano, Daniel Scott round out your top 20 of it.
And only a couple more get a time down in queue to be Bogart, Alverson, Burke through 23rd. They take times. The rest going to be provisionals. And there are some playoff drivers. Way back here, Dylan Jones late into it. 24th on the grid. David Washington along. You got Kamer, Stanford, Durham, Soa, your top 30 with Mosier, Pellegrini, and Valderrama. A 32-car field here tonight at Darlington. A long ways from the full field, nearly a 42 we saw at Daytona last week. You're also able to identify all your playoff competitors not only by the red markings on our on-screen graphics over the course of the race, but as well with that boosted club purple on board. The spoiler, the windshield banner, and the splitter, all that purple or pink color for all the playoff drivers. You can see Nieto without it. He is not in it, but there is that pink and purple. It stands out. Let's talk Darlington, though, Justin. A very tricky track. 1.366 miles, as I mentioned, 170 miles of racing here this evening, and this track tough enough on your own. Tonight, as we mentioned, survival could be key, but I wonder if the jitters are going to be a factor.
That is a strong possibility with so much pressure on the line, and knowing that it can be tough to pass with this package at Darlington, where you need to be picture perfect to get a run, to try and make passes, to stay out of trouble, with track position being so crucial. This is the type of race where strategy and turn, Evan, may come into play to decide who takes home the checker flag in this type of a race, because several times in official races and in various different series in preparation for tonight, some of these competitors actually competed for wins by staying out in late cautions. We'll have to see how things fare out here.
Pace car down and in. We're happy to have you with us at a Monday night as always, as we get set to kick off the round of 16. The field in the hands of the number 2 of Sam Nieto, as we say, let's go racing from Darlington. This is the Full Throttle Cup playoffs.
Great start so far for Daniel Eberhardt, to say the very least. Already single file, already able to get by Sam Nieto. But for the most part, you want to be single file to be able to carry the most speed and not kill your tires. It's just about line preference in turn, though, because you can get a good run off 3 and 4, Evan, and get the bottom in 1 and 2. You can then gain some spots as this race progresses tonight on the mid-run.
Yeah, we nearly saw a touch between those top two on the opening lap, and you can see single file throughout most of the field, side by side here. That's number 25 of Chambliss on the inside, and the 46 of Dane Cruz up and into the fence as he showers the 25 with sparks in 1 and 2. Even when you're trying to single file things out, easier said than done. And of course, down in 3 and 4, you got to drive the race car so differently than you do in 1 and 2. Makes this racetrack very difficult to set up for. Of course, this is a fixed setup championship. Everybody running identical race cars. It's going to come down to the racecraft to make the difference in this one. On board with Matt Mara. He runs in 17th position. There's the onboard look with him on the left-hand side. Our driver that gives us the look all week, and he has the VR goggles tonight as he rides mid-pack with a playoff driver and Thomas George up the road. That's going to be something interesting as well, Justin, to monitor. How do the non-playoff drivers interact with those guys fighting for a championship? Of course, Sam Nieto qualified on a pole. If he could keep Daniel Eberhardt out of victory lane, it means that the Donnie would not automatically advance. So I think you're going to have some of those drivers who just missed the cut line, maybe a little bit more aggressive, trying to make a statement. The likes of Gary Sexton, some of those guys that are saying, listen, I may have missed the mark this year, I'll be back in 2021, whereas some of the drivers maybe a little bit further down the ladder may cut them some more slack, especially here.
Indeed, should note that Alverson and Durham have both had to pit, but to your point specifically, Evan, in this type of race, I think it varies from situation to situation, right? For some drivers, they'll elect to say, you know what, I don't want to interfere with the championship battle. For drivers like Sexton, who came so close to making it to the postseason, if it wasn't for some damage, potentially hurting him, and some of the motor damage he mentioned as well at Daytona, he might have been that last person in. You also have drivers like Malik Ray, who run part-time schedules, Evan, who are in the field tonight, have been shown some speed, all while some of our playoff drivers are struggling like Kyle Kamer early.
Yeah, it's a rough go for Kamer as the 8 machine has dropped way to the rear. There's what happened as he got sideways. Looks like in the back straightaway. There was no caution, so we stay green after it was 1 or 2 cars involved. Like Stanford was right there, and there was no yellow, so that's a big blow for Kamer there because, of course, he's now all the way at the back of the lead lap in position number 30. Also, you talked about the points margin, and I just wanted to touch on that before I forget about it. Of course, talking about what the difference was when this regular season came to a close. It was that walk-off win by Grant Davis in Daytona that put him in, that knocked his teammate Bradley Burke out. Burke missed the playoffs by 4 points. Sexton missed it by 18. And again, a month ago, those drivers were comfortably in, but a string of 5 different first-time winners to close the regular season really shuffled some things up. You're not seeing any separation at the front of the field. It's Eberhardt, Nieto, Tice, Ray, and McBride. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And here comes Malik Ray, maybe challenging for 3rd.
It made it look nice and easy, and right there, a lot of give and take at this racetrack, Evan, because if you go side by side in that corner, you're likely not going to have a good time. Let's put it that way, with several drivers having contact in official races. But when it comes to Malik Ray, one thing you have to keep in mind is, if for those who watched iRacing Esports Network's coverage and SimSpeeds' coverage of NAS Open Action on Friday in preparation for the Cope race tomorrow night, Evan, he lapped the field by lap 140-ish. Nearly lapped the field twice before he got involved in an incident. That's how quick he was then, and it's important to get repetitions at a track like Darlington to get your throttle points down as we go through the traffic.
Yeah, that's the Tennessee Durham, 3 laps down, and there's really no good place for the lap traffic to go. You saw it really checked up. Malik Ray in the battle for 3rd, and right now these leaders a little bit hesitant trying to get through. Sexton nearly over the nose of the 24 car, as on the inside is Davis. Again, they all are trying to get around the 10 of Durham, who is now going to hit the eject button. Kaczynski sideways out of 2. What a save, as just 1 piece of lap traffic made that a big mess.
Yeah, this has absolutely been chaotic, and Durham, I think, realized, okay, I have to let things calm down, just duck to the apron and all of that. Man, I'm surprised there wasn't any bigger incident and all of that, but in turn, chance for Gary Sexton to reset. He was on the bottom and all that. Now guess what? He's back single file. Chance to regroup after you lost a couple spots after gaining some off the jump.
And on board here with Gary Sexton as he is neutral back to P8 where he started this race. Again, just missed the playoff bubble. He's got a throwback Elliott Sadler paint scheme on that number 3 Toyota tonight. Of course, the Elliott Sadler eSports driver. You can see represented with his in-sim look, left-hand side of your screen. And, behind him, Dane Cruz about knocked the fence down again for at least a third time tonight. Gary doing a good job, though, of keeping that car clean as he's chasing down Davis up the road. Again, the 24, a throwback Jeff Gordon look, one of the drivers in the playoffs. And again, it's early. The margin of error to get into the top 12 is 16, much less than it will be when we cut down to 8 and when we come down to 12 as there's Davis into the fence as Sexton went for the move on him, squeezing too wide into turn number 1. But, I mean, if I'm any of these playoff drivers, you gotta be thinking you can point your way in through this. Now side by side as it's Lariah to the inside. He'll make the pass and clear the 24, Justin. But, top 10s I think are okay for the round of 16. They're not going to be okay later in the postseason. So maybe ease yourself into it as we got 4 playoff drivers on top of each other as Benefield now also gets around. That is 4 spots lost for Davis in as many laps.
Yeah, Benefield showing off his impression, so to speak, of Brad Davies, I believe. But when it comes to the damage, I want to touch upon this, though, Evan, and that's partly why we've seen Davis drop back so much, is you smack the wall hard with this package, you're going backwards. It's 3 to 4 miles an hour difference by the end of the straightaways and can cause you to go straight backwards. Dane Cruz is having the same situation. A couple other drivers who have made contact with the wall are going backwards. You tap that wall, you are likely hurt for the rest of the run. So you have to be careful again on your moves and how you roll through the throttle, because the fixed set tendencies in the daytime, at least for some of these competitors for NIS competition for their impression of the 7500, it chewed up the right front along, where you had a lot of off-throttle time. You push too hard on the short run or carry too much speed into the corner, you're smacking that wall over and over again.
And this trio of cars has been going at it. Cruz has really been struggling on the corner exit. You can see he got up into the fence that time. So Bradley Burke going to get on through. He's the one that was disappointed about just missing the playoff cut. And Michael Kaczynski, who had that big moment a couple of laps ago now, trying to get it back up and under the 46. And again, once you get it once, if you hurt the car at all, it just means that you're likely going to keep getting it. He's into the wall again as the 27 of Jeremy E. Miller makes the pass on him. And again, drivers are trying to give and take as we pick up the battle for the race lead. You talk about how good Malik Ray is here at Darlington and NIS Open, and of course prepping for tomorrow night's race in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. A couple of limited starts, a race win in this series earlier this season, a pair of them at Auto Club Speedway in Bristol, and he's on the back of the 90 trying to play a spoiler as Eberhardt wants a ticket to the round of 12. Here goes the 51 and a new race leader 20 laps in. It's Malik Ray.
I think Eberhardt just knew that Ray was coming in quick. May have watched some of the footage, to say the very least, last Friday. But Ray just seems to, for whatever reason, just find perfect marks at this racetrack. I haven't seen him this dominant at any track in a while. Like I've seen him in a cup car at Darlington. It just seems he's found that perfect balance of not burning out the tires, but also maintaining long run longevity. That's what he's doing right now, with him already falling off 1.7 seconds with the amount of fall off already in the span of 22 laps.
And Daniel Scott talking over the radio that if there was a petition to burn Darlington down, he would sign it. And listen, I think we enjoy this track so much, Justin, because it's such a treat for us to watch. Granted, we're not the ones that have to drive on it, and Daniel Scott is obviously not enjoying himself out there as he is down outside of the top 20 and is really struggling, again, just to keep it clean. But again, we got away with one with that kind of near incident, semi-incident with Kyle Kamer earlier in this race where he spun, but it didn't trigger a yellow. He's just now passing Trepid Valderrama for 27th on track. But other than that, I mean, clean and green from the get-go in this one as Valderrama tries to go back on the underside of the gate. Looks like normal colors, plus those playoff contingencies for Kamer. Valderrama looks like a throwback UPS scheme on the O2 Chevrolet for this week. Of course, just like in real life, I'd say about 2/3 of the field or so in this boosted Club 125, rocking some sort of a throwback paint scheme. Always one of the coolest things about the Darlington week. You saw a brief glimpse there of Michael Mosier and a Kyle Busch throwback to the Nationwide Series days. Funny that we can already consider those throwbacks, but up front you can see the gap being opened up by Malik Ray as this battle now for fourth. Sam Nieto, Justin, not great. I mean, started on pole, didn't even lead, though, the opening lap, and now he'll be lucky to be P4 as here comes Trudell all over the bumper.
Yeah, you see right there, just a little too strong, I think, is what's hurting him on corner entry and in turn. Once he has to let it off the gas, it's been hurting on some of the corner exits, especially when Trudell has been letting it roll more for the apex. I think in turn, Trudell's overall better now in 1 and 2 a little bit. Nieto, balance out right there is where he starts to lose the time, where he's a bit more tighter coming off to. So if you're Trudell, just wait for a mistake, you deal with the dirty air, and we have a change for the race lead. Ray has let Eberhardt go in the traffic, I believe.
Yeah, there was a big slide, and I think we want to get a second look at this if we can. Valderrama went low to let Malik Ray pass him, but got a little bit sideways. And look at the run by Daniel Eberhardt, 3 wide to the apron and back up and clear. And listen, that was a gutsy move. I like that from Daniel Eberhardt, but I'm not sure how long it's actually going to last because Malik Ray is right back within 2 car lengths. And of course, Malik, one of many drivers, JP, in this series that are streaming their live perspectives on Twitch, and maybe you're tuning in with us and also watching the onboard. And I know Malik is so much fun to watch and listen to, and I'm sure he had some colorful things to say about the lap traffic that time. Maybe this time it'll help him as they close in on the 54 Mosier, but it looks like it'll be enough on the straightaway, and I think more importantly, down into this end of the racetrack, yeah, where they have much more room in 1 and 2 to clear and not going to be a factor. But that's tough. I mean, lap traffic can do everything they can to try to get out of the way, but it's a tricky track for a reason.
Yeah, indeed, and it just comes down to some cases preference. Sometimes you'll have drivers just pull over down the back straightaway, let's say, and let cars go. Others, though, know that they kind of have the right, so to speak, to hold their line, and it's the leader's job to get around them within reason. So a lot of times, they'll try and give some space for the entry and try and make sure they don't hold them up too much in most cases. I think that's what we've seen most of the night so far, is many of the drivers just wanting to keep things clean and not make mistakes, and wanting to not make sure they take the leaders with them in some of those situations. But for drivers like Rariah, looking like they're confident so far. Him and Andrew Freenosh +4. Mogard, who is a couple seconds back behind them. One of your biggest movers with Dylan Jones, +10.
And there's a lot of communication going on the radio right now amongst drivers so that everybody knows kind of who's where and whatnot. Look at this big long jam of cars. Valderrama's going to hold the bottom. Everybody else going to go high. So Nieto, followed by McBride. Benefiel, Sexton, look out! As he gets down nearly, came up across Friedage, Lariah. Some sketchy moments, and just wanted to talk about Friedage, Justin. He mentioned up 4 spots, and we were talking about those stats from last season as far as regular season race winners. So I wanted to touch on that. It was a little bit longer. It was a 23-race regular season versus 20, but Andrew Friedage won 11 of those 23 regular season races. He was one of just 6 different race winners all regular season. This season, no slouch, 5 race wins of the 20, but that was shared amongst 12 different race winners, I believe, in the regular season, 12 or 11. So quite a big difference, and not dominating. Top 10 car, but back in position number 9. It may not be a stroll in the park if he looks to go for the 3-peat this year.
And I think, again, it's in part because there's been a lot more competition, no offense to the past seasons, this season, because Adam Benefiel, former driver in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, in the field. Several drivers known for consistent performances in fixed racing, like Lariah, like Burke, like we've seen so far with Tice, are in the field and have been throughout the season. Plus, we've had many drivers do one-offs or part-time schedules and have strong performances, so it's not been as easy as in the past, so to speak. By the way, speaking of some of your drivers towards the front and Coke drivers, I think Ray is ready for his lead back. The problem is, they have to get around Kyle Kamer first, and well, he has to get around Eberhardt, who has been able to keep pace in the clean air so far.
And with the smaller field here, you get about half of the drivers in the field as your playoff drivers. And, of course, Kyle Kamer, the lowest running of all of them. We had that second look at the spin he had on the back straightaway. He's not going to want to let these cars go, but I don't think he's going to have much of a choice here. It's a big run for Eberhardt, so Kamer's concern would be to stay the first car one lap down. I think that would give him, of course, a chance where if a yellow were to come out, he would be the lucky dog, but the next lapped car not that far away, and look at this now. Eberhardt stuck and maybe a little bit timid to make the pass at the 8. Malik Ray jumps to the inside. He gets past. Meanwhile, there was a ton of smoke in turn 3. Don't know if somebody was involved in an incident turn 1 as we watched that pass for the race lead take place, but we are still green as we run, and Malik Ray now back to the top of the board. Not clear with the traffic yet, though. Kamer a little bit slower, JP, if he goes for the move here to the inside. Does Kamer let him go, though? No, he'll stay there, side by side for the moment, but there, they both got him.
Yeah, both of them, I think, the balance speed, and again, looking like just Ray is just burning up a little bit of the right front more since he's had some dirty air, and that was one of the main focuses for all the drivers who ran NIS, I think, this week, and some from the Coke Series. Trying to get that practice to know how that car is going to adjust when it's behind someone and know how the tire wear is going to react on the long run. And so far, it's been reacting okay-ish for Ray, just a little bit tight at times when he's on the throttle, it seems, off turn 2, and that's to be expected, though, with this right front being known to burn up a little bit more at that end of the speedway. And as long as you nail your marks, you can let it roll and carry a lot more time gain in the exit of turn 4. Overall, they're leading by almost 3 seconds at this point.
It's a big breakaway, these two. It's 2.7 seconds over the car in third and growing. That's Joseph Tice. It is a group of 5 playoff drivers chasing Malik Ray. Eberhardt, Tice, Trudell, Benefiel, and McBride, all championship hopefuls running 2nd through 6th. But of course, you talked about those part-time spoilers. Malik Ray trying to prevent Eberhardt from getting that free ticket to the round of 12. There's big movers. You mentioned Benefiel a little bit ago. He's very quietly, actually, moved his way to a top 5 spot, but in a battle with Brett McBride for P5 and 6 at the moment. And Sam Nieto now all the way down as we pick up that battle with Benefiel, Justin, to 7th. So Nieto really struggling with the race pace.
Yeah, indeed. Sam Nieto, I think, it just chewed up the tires on the short run. Maybe not be to his full liking, since you, again, have to be very, very precise. If you go back and forth or saw the wheel or bounce around a lot of times, you're going to kill those tires and basically slide them and make them where they overheat. It almost seems like Nieto's overheated the tires by trying to push a little harder on some of the exits, and in turn, that's been killing him just the whole rest of the run, especially, again, at turns 1 and 2, more so than in 3 and 4. That's been where he's losing all his time, right there at that hump.
Yeah, you can feel it coming out of turn 2, and if you're a little bit tight or a little bit too high up the hill, you come over that hump and you're going to be into the outside wall before you can do anything about it. Some sparks from McBride, but that's just leaning on the wall. That's the Darlington stripe. There is a difference between leaning on it and knocking it down, and we have seen a couple of more aggressive hits over the course of the night, but so far the only drivers to have big issues are Durham and Alverson. They are both out of the race early here from Darlington after having some issues early. There's a lot of drivers a lap down, including some on pit road early, so at lap number 40, we're about 1/3 distance. Do we see the race leaders follow suit, or is it more likely, Justin, that we'd be stretching towards lap 60 or 65 to go for a one-stopper?
That's actually a great question, Evan, because in theory, you can actually make it on fuel on one pit stop, but the tire wear, as we talked about, is so massive. 2 seconds already in the span of 40 or so laps. It's equalized out a little bit compared to 20 laps ago. Some drivers, I think, absolutely might take the gamble where they take a set of tires, maybe lap 45 or 50, and then try and pit at 95 or 100. So it just, I think, comes down to preference, car handling, track position, and how they want to play things out. At the same time, you never know if you're going to get a caution here, because while this is a track known for its attrition, it's also a track where you can also have its mix of long runs like we've seen so far to start tonight, as Pellegrini, who's a couple laps down, elect to the pit from subpar racing.
Yeah, he was towards the back of the pack, decided to come down pit road. Looked like it was most of the subpar cars plus some other drivers that were laps down that decided to come down to the pit lane. Now on board with Jared Mogard, who we were talking a little bit earlier in this one, trying to, kind of map out what our situation was for the championship, Justin, and it couldn't locate some of our playoff drivers, Mogard and Dylan Jones, late into the session. Neither of them got any laps in practice, but they run 11th and 12th on track right now. Not bad.
Absolutely. They've been both very competitive so far. They've been able to hit their marks very well and have near identical paces just about. Whenever Mogard's had some cleaner track, he's been in a similar ballpark. Jones, though, is about a couple tenths quicker in some cases on some of the laps most recently, because he's had the cleaner space while Mogard hasn't. You have to keep in mind, though, Jones, he's in the fence. Jones just smacked the fence with the right front up the track.
Well, right when we talked about him, it's a big hit. You can see that all-white paint scheme that he's been running for some time, and he actually followed the car in front of him into the outside wall. Mosier, right there's some contact in front. Mosier and Scott, I think, got together. And I don't know if it was just Dylan Jones driving it in too deep because those cars did, or if he had a little brief moment where he was afraid of something happening. But he did go into the fence after the contact in front of him happened. Mosier now finally clearing Scott. Of course, he's on fresh rubber. Look out! Dylan Jones right into Daniel Scott, and a yellow at lap 47.
And to put it simply, I think he just misjudged it. Already, the 26 was lane by their car, was already off the gas early in the straightaway because Mosier actually was on fresh tires. Jones sent it in like I think he wasn't expecting him to be that off on the corner entry, and just hit the back end. Just completely misjudged the speed differential off the corner.
Now let's ride on board and watch this in one. And if you just see that clip, Justin, you might think that they had some sort of beef and he just took him out. But you're right. I mean, that's just the difference in speed on those cars. Here's the pass. The 26 is a little bit slow on exit anyways, with the 54 completing the move on the bottom. And yeah, Dylan Jones much more aggressively going low to high. Tried to check up, couldn't do it. Spins the 26 around. And that will bring out our first yellow, 47 laps in, which will bring cars down pit road. Interesting in the strategy because there's still 76 laps left, shy of halfway as your Kamoya race leaders.
And on top of that, Evan, that's outside the fuel window to make it by about 3 laps or so. So this, if it has an air long green flag run, might become a strategy race, whether it's fuel mileage or driver splitting it halfway. That's going to be the massive gamble. Keep in mind, there is a tire set limit tonight of 4 total, 3 in the pits. So these are the first sets being used by your lead lap cars right here.
And you can see as they race off of the pit lane, Malik Ray maintains the #1 spot. Second to go to Trudell. Not many changes with Benefiel, McBride, and Sexton, your top 5. Everybody pretty much unanimous on the decision to go for 4 tires and fuel. Brian Chambliss was actually technically the first car for the pit lane, but he missed his stall. Maybe that was an accident, Justin, or he heard you say we need 3 more laps, and maybe he will opt to come in and top off right before the restart and get tires then, and maybe some other drivers may decide to do that as well. You can see the lapped cars now pitting this time through. Not a lot of them going to stay out for the wave by because they do need gas. A couple will go for the wave around, Looks like Valderrama, Pellegrini, and Mosier looking to get away by everybody else, though, from a lap down wanting fuel. So, yeah, this could be close. Dylan Jones claiming responsibility for the restart as well, or the incident as well, Justin. That's notable because he will go to the end of the longest line for the restart behind all those lapped cars.
Yeah, don't blame him, as we've seen. Just too much speed on the entry, but to touch back on Chambliss, the reason, again, you miss the pit stall, so to speak, and let it roll through the pits is when you get the 2 to go signal and you stay out on the racetrack, if you're on a lead lap, the pit road is closed for you. It ends up giving you a black flag, especially that is crucial if you want to top off coming to 1 to go. So I think absolutely that was a smart decision by Chambliss. Come down here, take the tires, and if you still feel like you need a little bit more fuel, come down again at the 1 to go signal, top off, and then you might be right on the money to make it on fuel.
And we'll see if the lights go out this time by, as down on pit road off of the corner is Chambliss. Of course, the drivers have on their heads-up display, basically in the sim, what the count is, so they know when we're coming to the 1 to go before we do. And as we cross the line, lights of the pace car stay on, though. So at least 2 more times around, but he is going to get his fuel. I'm just looking to see if anybody else is opting to come in also. So far, no additional takers. Granted, these drivers are all going to be doing their best to save fuel as we pace right now. You can see them staying off of the banking and just trying to kind of probably keep it in 4th gear.
I think a lot of those are feeling like there's a chance for an Ariel, since cautions, precautions, right? And these restarts can be extremely tricky. Keep in mind, we talked about a gamble of trying to go for a 2-stopper, trust the tires more so than the fuel, in some cases with the speed differential. The drivers that were taking the wave are the ones who are basically burned by that call. Mosier, Pellegrini, Valderrama have already used 1 set, so they're going to have to start on 8 to 12 lap older tires than the rest of the field as a result of either some of their troubling to some pit stops, or in turn electing to take said pit stop sequences off cycle during the green flag run when they were starting to lose laps. By the way, I believe Dane Cruz actually came down for a 2nd stop for some additional damage repair. Remember, he scraped the wall, and a chance also to get some more fuel as we come towards, I believe, the 1 to go this time.
And Dylan Jones also, who has to start at the rear anyways due to the cause of the caution flag, is back down pit road as well. And he's got friends down there. He's got Sean Kalist, Brian Chambliss, Tom Morano, all coming down to top off on fuel as the lights on top of the pace car are out and we get set for a restart. So it is going to be a big play here, of course. If it goes green, you may have the ability to stretch it to the end, of course. Restarts breed some chaos, and maybe yellows breed cautions. We'll see, as we're going to put our first yellow flag of the night behind us and restart as we get set to put lap number 53 in the books and take a restart with 72 laps to go. No choose role in iRacing, so you are assigned inside and out. Malik Ray, therefore, going to be on the inside of the front row to take the green flag alongside the 7 to Kyle Trudell, Benefiel, McBride, Sexton, your top 5, Nieto, Lariah, Fridas, George, and Tice, your top 10, as the pace car dives down and in, and the field in the hands of the 51 Toyota. Green flag flies. We're back underway.
And a great launch there, and now some already give and take from some of these cars. Expect a lot of aggression, though. Benefiel, as to be expected, pushing the issue to take away 2nd.
And got it. Nice job at the inside. Same way we saw Nieto lose the race lead very early to Eberhardt. Was on the inside and a spinner on the back straight away. It is Jeremy E. Miller into the inside wall. No caution. And his night done just like that. It was on his own, side by side with Burke, and right there looped it.
Yeah, just got too loose, a little bit too low on the corner exit. And the reason it wasn't a caution is, with how big this apron is here at Darlington, if you're that low on the racetrack, you're not likely triggering a caution flag, as the leader's already dealing with traffic. That's Kalist.
It'll be 2 laps down for Sean Kalis, limping around in that 43 Ford. You can see how fast your race leaders are in comparison to him. But you talk about former pro drivers and the active pro drivers in this championship. What a battle right now for the race lead. Malik Ray chased by Adam Benefield, 1-2. The 7 car of Trudell wants to make it a party of 3, and there's more drivers further on back, but we will see if we get that top 2-3 breakaway. Remember, those leaders were about 3 seconds ahead of anybody else that last run, or if the rest of the field can keep these cars up here honest. Some side-by-side further back sees Hidani of Eberhardt make a pass on Tice.
Yeah, Eberhard actually lost a decent amount of time after the pit stop sequence to the end of the top 10, in part because I think he spent some time getting damage repair, about 29 seconds. So he's going to have a lot of work cut out once again to get by these cars quickly, because if you take too much time, one corner of side-by-side could lose you about 3/4 tenths of a second to the cars in front.
And if that continues, I mean, that compounds very quickly, and that's how you find yourself in a hole. And against, some of the top talent in this series, you can't really afford to put yourself behind the 8 ball ever. Here's Mogard, an aggressive drive to the inside on Burke, playoff driver versus non. You got the one of Joseph Tice in the mix as well, but the inside not working, exited 2, so Mogard tucks back in line. He'll try it again, and now he's going to be under fire because here comes David Washington on the bottom. He'll take the spot in 3 and 4. Not all the way clear, though. Let's see if Mogard wants to force the issue.
Yeah, and Washington, he rode towards the very back early on in this race of the 98 machine. A very different look as we've seen in the past couple weeks. But a look to the inside for the race lead just now. Benefield got the run right into turn 1 on Ray. Ray's not giving it up. And now Ray is telling him he has to wait till turn 3.
Yeah, he said that he might give it to him here in turn number 3. Benefield on the bottom, but there's more drivers involved. Here comes Trudell to the inside, behind McBride, and the 83 car faster. Malik Ray noticed it. He let him on go, and Adam Benefield to the race lead at Darlington. One of the RSR veterans, race winner already earlier this year. Of course, you talk about the successes, I should say, for Benefield, looking for a first win on the year, and you talk about starting this race, Justin, at the back and moving forward. How about a metaphor for the season? Points his way here. He wants to win to get to the next round, though, and Malik Ray is one tough buffer between he and everybody else, as Trudell now has to think of a way to get P2.
Well, don't forget, Benefield actually won the first race at Daytona. Long ways to go with the help of Ray, in fact. So they've had some camaraderie with one another, and a lot of give and take from these respective drivers. So a lot of respect from these two to one another with each of their unique skill sets. Now the question's going to be, how long does Ray elect to stay behind Benefield, and does he try and push the issue again, try and get up in front? One driver to shout out, though, is we've seen Gary Sexton float around the top 5 much of this race, Evan. There are plenty of throwbacks, in fact, to his team owner from Elliott Sadler Esports, Elliott Sadler, in real life. Last weekend, he was in a throwback himself here as the battle for second still heats up in this grouping.
Yeah, one of the many great cars. I mean, you can see it as well on board. Rhett McBride, a bit of a throwback in the old school look at Amsoil, number 5 machine. And there's a lot of radio discussion further back. David Washington not happy with some of the lapped cars, but you're right. I mean, we saw those two work together, and Benefield winning in Daytona. I'm sure he'll agree with me that it feels like a year ago, which is why sometimes you forget that he had that playoff spot locked up way back in March when the season got underway, but is doing everything right now. And again, we saw the same thing when Malik Ray challenged for the race lead, that it wasn't a huge fight put up by Daniel Eberhardt, so there is that respect among some of the fastest drivers in this series, but especially between those two with their unique background and the levels of sim racing that they have gotten to. And you're talking about Sexton. I think he may be sweating here because the 5 car, McBride, thought about trying to put a move on him, opted not to, and maybe the 90 car going to try next as you look off of the back bumper of the 13.
And the interesting thing with the 13 is, if you look towards the side of the race car, there's actually 2 different number placements. I've noticed this actually last week as well. Sexton has the natural number placement on the left side of the car. On the right side of the car is actually more towards the front tire. So the question is going to be, Where do drivers like McBride and Eberhard, who's been charging up here, try to attack? To the normal number font side on the left side of the car? Or towards his outside where it's more further to the front, Goodyear Eagle?
Yeah, well, we normally see him for the last couple of weeks running that NASCAR All-Star style number with the number pushed all the way back, still on the door, but to the rear tire, and you can see it's more so still on the door, just a little bit closer to those front contingencies on that throwback paint scheme tonight. And of course, I think he needs the space to get that big Elliott Sadler Esports text on the side, so the number can shuffle around just a little bit easier for McBride to keep the number 5 right below the window net with the AMSOIL logos on the side. Still a lot of the memorial decals on board these cars from last week's Bryce Whitson Memorial 200. You'll see those red and white circular memorial decals on a lot of these cars all throughout the season. As a collective, amongst lap-led bonuses, donations from drivers, and more, Justin, that race last Monday night helped raise over $200 for BeTheMatch.org, so that was very cool, and expecting a lot of drivers to continue to support that as this goes on. As there's an issue with the 9 machine, and he's talking on the radio right now, JP, maybe an issue with his pedals?
Yes, his pedals had an issue in the corner, but then Mogard, on top of that, tried to arc it down to the corner and hit him, and then smack the outside wall. So a compounded issue there where it seemed in the corner, something must have happened with it. Looked like maybe the gas pedal right here. Tries to move out of the way. Mogard gives him a huge shot. Tries to go down low, and then Mogard hits him again, and in turn smacks the wall.
Mogard, I was almost wondering if that second shot was a bit of a frustration bump, but then he put himself into the fence, so you would like to think that if you were trying to give somebody a shunt for not being very happy with him, that you wouldn't take yourself out either. But, I mean, it doesn't help Mogard's situation either. He's a playoff guy. He needs to stay clean, and now with some damage, he's under fire with Bradley Burke in a battle for 14th and 15th. You're on board, though, with P3 Kyle Trudell. Again,
oh, crash to the back. The 23's in the fence.
No yellow, it's Matt Morrow. Now there's more cars. Daniel Scott involved. The mess.
And no caution. No caution yet, as now it's finally out. This is why. This was just right here, where Jones just made a bit of contact with the left rear with a bump draft right to his side. And Mara, looks like it's going to be okay. Suspension damage, and right as everyone tries to dodge him, just smack into one another, trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack, all while Burke gets doored into the inside wall. You mentioned the conversations over the radio 5-10 laps ago. It just so happened that Burke was the car put into the outside wall with some contact from the door of Mogard in that.
That is 2 incidents, and it all started with that 23, but there's the door slam there as Burke goes down and into the inside fence, and his car is obliterated. He's slowing down onto the inside of the racetrack. And again, none of this triggered an automatic caution flag by the sim, so it had to come from the tower. But then it was a huge hit. Kyle Kamer with a ton of damage as he and Mara went into the outside wall. At that point, though, there's no yellow. It's when Thomas George comes down that he cuts off Scott, cuts off the 46 machine of Dane Cruz. And at that point, enough cars that race control through the yellow. Bradley Burke is not happy with the 00 of Mogard. They are exchanging words. You can see Mara's frustration. His night may be done. And what a mess just past halfway as your race leaders are all back down pit road.
Already straight to his phone to talk to teammates. Mogard actually claiming at least one reason for the caution flag, but it looks like it's no longer a fuel strategy race. Now it's a tire set management race now, because just about everybody using their second set. One set remained for most of the field, and Tice actually went for a massive gamble. I think he took 2.
Joseph Tice first off pit road, a 7.1 second stop. That I'm just taking a look actually. I don't see any tires go on board that car. Justin, if you want to take a second look as well, because I thought it would have been at least 2, but I don't see any.
Actually, that might be the smartest call of the race, because I seen this done in another event by Kane Cook specifically, where they know the limitations with the tire sets and said, you know what, I'll just take fuel only, bank a set of tires for the end of the race, and if we get a caution, say after 15-20 laps, guess who's got the freshest tires? The one car. So he can become a rocket ship. He said he did not intend to put on tires. Apparently, though, it wasn't because of a smart call. It was because his pit crew apparently somehow put 2 sets of tires on there. So somehow he had 8 tires on his car.
I think somehow, therefore, if he burned 2 sets, he would have only had 1 set left. Yep. So maybe it wasn't a strategy decision as far as maybe he's thinking there's going to be another yellow. Granted, of course, for all Full Throttle Cup Series events, it's 3 sets of tires, and that's basically because if the race goes green, you're not going to be worried. You can get it on 2, you can get it on 3, but what we saw a lot earlier this year, Justin, and honestly, the tire sets haven't been a deciding factor in a race since they've been implemented. But the idea is, even on 5-10 lap runs, when you had unlimited tire sets, everybody was coming down, they were filling them up with fuel, getting new tires every single time. If this race has a couple of restarts late, now you have to start thinking about it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see drivers stay out if we get a caution in this stretch of a run, or drivers trying to bank on there not being more cautions and taking tires and in turn getting track position. There's a couple different ways you can take this, but for Joseph Tice, absolutely just, it could have maybe worked, but at the same time, it's not going to work how I think he wanted to draw it up. And now with him on only 1 set remaining, he's going to be a sitting duck on this restart potentially, and it's going to be dangerous for some of these drivers. Wouldn't be surprised if he tries to keep out of the way here once they get up onto green.
Lights still on top of the base car. One more trip around. Of course, you can see Sean Kalist at the front of the field looking for a wave bind that'll get him within 1 lap at the very top of the field. So almost getting himself all the way back to the lead lap in this race. Then Joseph Tice behind at a significant disadvantage because his tires far older than, of course, everybody else's. And if he didn't take them to save, then you'd feel real silly if we go 50 laps or whatever the number ends up being to the end of the race. Because you can do this on field, Justin. We're not close like we were with the 70 number before. So if he didn't take tires to save tires, or if he had an issue, either way, if he has a set left, he'll feel good later. If he finishes a green flag run without a yellow with a set in the back pocket, that would not be ideal.
And really hurt him in the points as well when you think about it, because he needs points, and apparently he's saying he wants to take the top and is staying up high. There are several playoff drivers who are going to be right behind him here on this restart.
Well, we've seen on both restarts tonight, the initial start of the race and then the most recent restart, that actually the pass inside of the top 5 has happened in 1 and 2, and it has been the inside line that has made the move. So we'll see. It's probably going to be very easy for Malik Ray. My concern is what happens with Kyle Trudell in line. Is he going to be able to get on through? Benefiel is going to be to his inside. It could be a crazy restart. At lap number 76, we're going to go on board for this restart. And we are going to hold off, in fact, because the lights go on top of the pace car. So we'll try again next time.
I believe Mogart actually slowed down on the back straightaway because he had to let a couple more drivers go. So that triggers the extra pace lap, so about 48 laps to go. Keep in mind, Mogart, again, had that EOL for that penalty for the caution cause.
And he claims it. He'll get 1 penalty point. Same with Dylan Jones. No concerns for those drivers. They don't have a high tally coming into this evening, but if you claim responsibility for a yellow, it's 1 penalty point. If you don't, it is 2. And I don't know if we can see this on the camera, but Daniel Eberhard is calling me on Facebook, so I'm not sure what he wants to talk about, but I think he should get ready for the restart here, because he is P8 on the outside of row 4. So let's try this again. We got 20 cars on the lead lap at a restart with 48 laps to go, as the field is in the hands of the 51 car Malik Ray. They're chasing down the 1 and Joseph Tice with the old tires. What is he going to be able to do? Row 2, Trudell and Benefiel. I think that's really where the big tricky thing is for the battle in 2nd and 3rd.
Absolutely. So if you're the drivers on the outside, good luck. It's going to be a dodge towards the bottom side of the racetrack. This is about to get interesting. Let's follow on board with Gary Sexton. This is going to be fun. And caution flag is out. 18th on back involves an incident, and it's Jared Mogard. And several other drivers involved in trouble. Motor is now gone for the 00 after some trouble. And this was not pretty because, remember the contact twice between him and Burke? There's a third storyline of this in terms of them.
And of course, Bradley Burke was not happy with the incident earlier, Justin. I mentioned that there was some exchanging of words on the radio, and we talked about the non-playoff drivers interacting with the playoff drivers, and Jared Mogard's got a gripe here.
Yep, right there, Burke saying, you know what? You've hit me a couple times, and retaliates back. Temper's boiling right over, and he says, you know what? I'll just take the caution point. Gonna hurt Mogard's postseason run, though. Let's put it that way. He was decent on points, not so much now as pretty clear-cut.
And Mogard ends up and over, and that is shades of Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano. As coming into this evening, you know, Mogard was one of those drivers who was able to get in on points. Only 5 got in on points again with those 11 different race winners. Mogard, Tice, Washington, McBride, and Chambliss were all tied for dead last in the playoffs with no bonus points. You can see Burke is around on pit lane there as I believe there was some more contact. Yes, there was. Let's watch this replay.
Well then, and Sean Kalis gets a little damage, I think, for his troubles for being in front of that. Mogard was definitely not happy, let's put it that way, and used him as the punching bag once again in a stress ball.
And fortunately for Kalis, I think he just avoids it, but that is the tempers overflowing. And, well, I called this the short track round, Justin, and that was mainly referring to what is coming up on the schedule as we go racing at Richmond and Bristol. I mean, those are 2 tracks where certainly tempers can flare and, you know, drivers can find themselves in some heated moments, but you said we could probably toss Darlington into that category just because of how it races, and I think it has up to it.
Well, again, it's a track where it's hard to pass, and it's a track where attrition can come into play. There's a reason we've seen the emotions in real life over the weekend, in real life back in the springtime. This is a track that tests everyone's patience and limits, and for some drivers, eventually that patience just completely grinds its way down to 0. And in turn, you see moments such as that as Burke done for the night for obvious reasons.
Yeah, he'll get the park from race control, so Bradley Burke's night is done from Darlington, so don't have to worry about the end of the longest line of penalty in that one. And through that restart, no shock, Justin, that Malik Ray was able to get around to the race lead. Kyle Trudell ends up pretty fair off, though. Again, I was thinking maybe he was going to get big time trapped up on the outside. Didn't happen, and he'll actually be on the inside of row 2 for the restart, which could give him a chance to fight for second. Again, that second, or I guess I should say that inside spot for the second row, so P3 has been one of the better places to restart tonight. And of course, Benefiel was a little bit faster than Malik Ray the last long green flag run we had, so there could be a battle amongst those 2 as well. This is a great race. All keep in mind that Andrew Freitas is starting to creep into the picture. A little bit of different colors on board the 88 Ford Mustang this evening, so you know, maybe not noticing him right away like we usually do, but there he is. He's got our boosted colors on board that car tonight, and a big shout out to our friends at Boosted for bringing you coverage of this 2020 season here on Race Spot TV and the iRacing Sports Network. So race high P7 for Freitas. He could mess around and get up and into the mix late also.
Yeah, and this is not a surprise because if you remember last year, he was a dominant car here. He is strong on the long run, strong at tracks where he can save tires, and he's just slowly been creeping his way on forward, been more patient tonight. He's got a decent points buffer for the evening, so I'm curious how much he tries to push now that he's got the track position in the closing stages of this race, if he tries to come away with the victory, because he's already got 2 of the drivers he's fought a lot between in some of the races, Benefiel and Ray, who are 1-2. I wouldn't be shocked to see this 88 up inside the top 4 come 10-15 laps from now.
So we should get lights out this time. If we do, it will set us up for a 40 lap to go restart. Again, nothing crazy. We've seen a run of that distance earlier in the race, but you know, at the start of the practice session, the sun was just dipping behind the grandstands. It is now total darkness here in Darlington, and I wonder if it means it's been a bit of a full moon since then, because this race has gotten wacky. It was a crazy race at Daytona a couple of weeks, or last week even, in the night race there for the season finale, but here at the Lady in Black, it has been a show, and I think we are not done with the fireworks quite yet. So, front row, Malik Ray, Adam Benefiel. What are your thoughts as we get set to get into the final 40?
It can go either way, honestly, especially with these two up towards the front. Both of them have been near even on good runs. Benefiel's been great in 3 and 4, so is Ray. Ray's a little weaker at some points in 1 and 2. It could be a dogfight for this race victory, but I wouldn't be surprised to see an air caution change the complexion of this race and open up the entire strategy game, because with one tire set remaining, Evan, it's going to be the question mark if we get an area of when do drivers such as these two use their sets for the calls.
And we'll find out if it's necessary, because they would love to go 40 laps from this point to the end of the race. Green flag flies. We're back underway, and Malik Ray checking out in front of the field. He'll lead the run down to turn number 1. Now here comes Trudell trying to use row 2. Looking to the inside at Adam Benefiel, but he's not close enough. The 83 protects at a 2.
That's to be expected, needing some good defense, a good run for Benefiel behind. Now the question's going to be again, how does Benefiel play this? Him and Ray have been going well, and everyone else, they're currently in the midst of fight time. Here comes Freynosh now making his move.
He's on the inside of Sexton, had a little bit of a bobble off for the restart. That's how Eberhardt was able to get on by, but Freynosh not as fortunate because the momentum back in favor of the outside line. So Sexton stays ahead. Michael Loraya now going to go for the cross-up, as it was the 88 slow at a 2. Here's Loraya to the bottom in turn number 3. Going to be just as challenging, though. That's not going to happen. Dylan Jones going to squeak by on the outside.
And some of the big drivers who needed good runs today moving up. McBride's now been freight trained. Gary Sexton taking advantage. So 3 of your 4 quickest drivers up there. Trudell has been willing to give a lot. In terms of the 2 in front of him, now it's going to be the question how much give and take there is for some of the error cars here. You can see Trudell getting reeled in quickly by Eberhardt again.
He is, as you can see, Jones tucking in line, Trudell looking out of line, trying to find a way to keep Daniel Eberhardt behind him, blocking Donati on the front straightaway. And once again, these top 3 close in. That's off of the back of race leader Malik Ray. Adam Benefiel chasing him down the back straightaway. Let's ride on board. Looks like Justin Malik a lot less inclined to let him go like he did earlier. Now a battle for third or behind. It's Eberhardt to the inside of Trudell.
They're going to have lap traffic, though. Mogart, though, giving some space just barely. And right there, Eberhardt just able to get the preferred line to carry more momentum. Trudell loses his. And now, 3 of your quickest drivers and 3 drivers who have led laps all night. 1, 2, 3 for another interesting dogfight. And you still have Freynosh, mind you, still deep in some traffic in 7th in all of this.
He's dealing with all those cars that, in fact, just got passed by McBride, but is going to try to pass him back. There's that side-by-side duo into 3. But again, I don't think the inside works unless you have enough of a run to clear by the center. But in fact, McBride lets him go, and that may hurt more because that checkup opens up the door. Michael Loraya may expect the same treatment. He'll go to the inside now in turn number 3. The 5 not going to roll over and let the Autolite Chevy through. So Loraya has to tuck back in line for the moment. The 88 of Freynosh back to P6. McBride falling to 7th. This battle 5th, 6th on the back. Sexton kind of in Gilligan's Island in 5th on his own, but ahead of him, it is a top 4 breakaway. Malik Ray, Adam Benefiel, Daniel Everhart, and Kyle Trudell duking it out for the race win at Darlington. Here's the fight for second, though, as Everhart tries to go low.
And Everhart looking really confident again. He's been like that on some of these short runs tonight. Remember, spent some time getting apparent damage fixed on that right front that had slowed him down in the middle of this race. I think he's got a decent shot here again to try and make the pass. He's just got to time it up to where he diamonds the corner off turn 4, Evan, uses the banking as a ramp, and gets a better run to take away that bottom. Benefiel with a bit of a defensive line, in fact, off the corner.
It's the same defensive line that we saw to Malik Ray. Is again, if you don't have a big run, it is very difficult to execute a pass here at the track. Too tough to tame. We saw with the onboard with Malik Ray a couple of laps ago that Benefiel was basically parked on his bumper, but without a significant run, couldn't really do anything with it. And you're seeing the same in the battle for second now, as Everhart was right there, but sticking it out to the inside was only going to hurt, I think, both of those cars. Of your top 11 drivers, 9 of them playoff drivers. Only Gary Sexton 5th, and race leader Malik Ray trying to play spoiler in the round of 16 opener. Last couple of laps, Benefiel P2 faster than that 51 up front. If he can get there, though, what can he do with him?
And keep in mind as well, if they fight too long or Everhart burns up his tires too much trying to pass by Benefiel, will he have enough grip to be actually able to try and make a pass on Ray? That's also got to be something he's got to think about. You also, mind you, too, have Gary Sexton still keeping up with this group. This is the closest Sexton has been to the lead pack all day. So I think some of these cars, again, just thinking more smartly, knowing there's still a lot of laps to go, still 28 to go here at Darlington, and a low of falls expected, still another second or so expected throughout this run as the track rubbers up.
And last lap for Malik Ray, a 28.464. It was a 3.47 for Benefiel. There's that small advantage, but already a second off of the pace when these tires were fresh. Some 25 laps ago, give or take a couple of laps because of the yellows that we have had to pace through. But I mean, we aren't seeing that 3-second pull away. Kyle Trudell dropping a bit off of the battle for 2-3, but still in touch. Gary Sexton holding strong at about 0.8 of a second back. That time by 27 laps to go. But I wonder with Benefiel, as they close in on lap traffic and Daniel Scott, they're going to have to safely navigate around him. He'll go low, they stay high. That it might take a mistake from Malik for Benefiel to get the job done, or you could have some Truex on Elliott action like we saw over the weekend.
Wouldn't be surprised to see that come into play, but I think, again, Ray has to know on top of this that Benefiel's competing for the postseason championship and wants to get himself to the next round. Ray, he's running part-time, has competed a lot towards the front of some of the races, so that's got to play into how you approach this again, similar to how things went the previous day for the Xfinity Series. So you have to think about that in your mind as this race progresses. Benefiel is starting to get a little bit quicker now. Ray starting to back off a touch. Benefiel gained about a full 1/10 of a second the past 2 laps.
On the nose with the 83, trying to chase down the 51 of Malik Ray. And again, as we get deeper into this run, you're going to have to be a little bit more finesse with the throttle. He was sideways that time. And at turn number 2, back off into 3 and 4. Let's ride. Lost a little bit of ground that time, and it's that constant push and pull. He closes, he falls. He closes, he falls, but we're finally seeing some separation. It looks like Everhart starting to lose touch with the 83. Maybe a little bit too early to call it a two-horse race, but these two cars are the best. Lap traffic up the road in Steve Soa, a throwback Bud Light scheme. That's to an old Darrell Waltrip Budweiser look. He also gets down to the inside, well out of the way, and lets these two fight.
Indeed, and that's the smart thing here, knowing you don't want to interfere with the battle for the race lead. Just get out of the way, knowing this is likely going to be potentially for the win, depending on how things shape out. Again, Ray just has that advantage of clean air to be able to stick it, while Benefiel has that dirty air that's causing him a little bit more push. Surprised we haven't seen a couple differences in lines. Try and go a little bit higher, a little bit lower to try and get some type of clean air to the front nose if you're the 83 yet.
That was the slow Jared Bogart on the inside. Heavily damaged. Not the start to his postseason that he wanted after it evolved with that dust up with Bradley Burke. Bogart running second lowest out of all the playoff drivers, only ahead of Kyle Kamer, who started his night off with a spin and is 11 laps down in position number 25. But these leaders getting so close to the outside wall lap after lap, able to keep it out, avoid for the most part getting a Darlington stripe. It looks like the passenger side on both those cars remarkably clean for having completed 105 laps here in Darlington. But they are definitely now pulling. We could see a fight for third here shortly, because as Eberhardt fades, Trudell is about the same distance back of those top two. So the 90s kind of fallen back to the 7. We'll keep an eye on that. Maybe also battle 5-6 between Sexton and Friedage. Here's the onboard look with the 7.
Yeah, and it's gone a little bit back and forth in this battle. Eberhardt's fallen off a little bit. Trudell's been willing to push a little bit. Almost a little bit too much, where he wobbled up towards the wall, in fact. But at this point, I think they're just not able to hit their marks as well as they were before because of their older tires. It's essentially, if this stays green, I think just down to the top two and how those two drive this respective track. Some other cars, by the way, have completely fallen off. McBride just lost 2 spots in the span of 1 lap. He's now dropped to 9th after being
he was in the
wall.
wall. He was complaining about it over the radio. He and Michael Lariah got together, and he had something to say about it over the radio. It cost him at least those 2 positions that you mentioned. Jones was able to get around him, and Lariah, and they are discussing it now. Let's watch. Lariah was saying that the 5 was holding him up for some time, so he was trying to be patient. Let's see.
Yeah. Apparently he was giving the low line. He was saying on the radio right here, but Lariah, I think, just started pushing up there. McBride actually tapped the wall first and then bounced into Lariah, so there was a bit of space.
It was almost like he could have squeezed through, maybe, and maybe he would have hit him anyways. But I think the 5 was more so seeing the 44 coming up, thinking that he was just going to completely take him out and kind of put himself in the fence to avoid a bigger mess, and neither driver's happy.
Yeah, indeed. I think McBride got, again, the worst of it with that right front contact that will hurt him for much of this run until he can get some damage repair. But look at this. Freenage, he's up in the lead pack now. Still 1.6 seconds behind Ray, but he's running in the same ballpark and same pace as everybody else in front of him, if not a little quicker at times.
This continues. Can he get an extra point here? Of course, in the case of Friedage, had the biggest advantage coming into this evening, started with 2,015 points, courtesy of 5 race wins, 3 bonus points apiece. Of course, Eberhardt running well, Trudell running well. Those are the other drivers with those big bonuses. So, Friedage isn't going to be in any sort of danger whatsoever if he finishes P6, which would be considered low by his standard. A driver who finished 12 times in the top 5 in 20 attempts over the course of the regular season. But he and Sexton going to continue to battle. The race leaders communicated with the lap traffic. They're telling Valderrama stay high so we can take to the bottom. Oh, but Ray squeezed him into the outside wall. Adam Benefiel was right there. Malik Ray said stay high. Valderrama stayed in it, though. Malik Ray came up and there was contact.
And it's been made clear before that drivers like Benefiel do not like it when traffic is in the racing line like that. That time, Ray just about tried to squeeze him out, hoping he was going to completely let off the gas, I think. Right about here, He didn't realize that his quarter panel was still there and the O2 was still hugging the wall in turn. He ends up getting grabbed by the wall.
Yeah, that was, I think, a miscommunication because Malik Ray said on the radio, stay to the outside. So Valderrama stayed on the outside, Justin, but he maintained race pace. I think Malik Ray was kind of saying, hey, go high, let me go on the bottom. He more so tried to kind of go for a bit of a slide job to maximize his run off of the corner. And Malik Ray is lucky that he didn't hook himself into the fence there. And Benefield was over the radio at the defense of the 51, not happy with the O2. Another case where those cars are trying to do what you're telling them to, but this is a racetrack that doesn't work side by side for a race lead battle, let alone when you're talking about cars that are off the race lead pace.
I think both cars are okay, though. That's the main thing in this sequence. No damage on either of the cars that is visible. So I think it's just now to where they now have to just regroup themselves. Calm down. Benefield's now got a little space now to try and regroup and gain some time. Cool down the tires for one more push. 10 to go.
10 laps to go from Darlington. One hangs in balance for Malik Ray. Is the third trip to victory lane this season. Of course, what is on the line in this battle with the 83 machine of Adam Benefield would be an automatic ticket through and into the round of 12. Could he be the first driver to lock it up and advance? If he can hang on, and he is on the bumper. He is right there for Benefield, trying to make the pass. Mosier, lap traffic, going to stay to the inside, and in fact, he will get way out of the way and allow these top two to battle. And if I'm Daniel Eberhardt, I do not let Kyle Trudell go. That is a good battle for third that you see down the road, because if our race leaders mix it up, P3 could be there to pick up the pieces.
I think so too, absolutely. And Eberhardt's actually a little bit quicker now. He's starting to now gain some time. More lap traffic up the road, then it's clean sailing, I think, all the way to nearly the checkered flag. There goes that traffic. It's just among these two with some clean space for the next 5, 6 or so laps or so.
And these two have been very respectful with each other all night. We saw Ray let Benefield go later in the race. There was points in this run, Justin, where I think it looked like Benefield was better, but Malik Ray opted not to give him the spot once more. He's going to make him race for it. I think that Benefield has the better car of these two, but again, by Darlington standards, I don't think he's fast enough to be able to execute a pass. So do you put a little bit of a bumper to him? Do you get alongside or rub him into the fence, get on his door? How much does Adam Benefield feel like this race win is necessary to lock him into the next round versus just taking a lot of points and being fairly comfortable, but with two unpredictable short tracks in Richmond and Bristol looming large on the calendar?
That's actually a decent question here, and looking at some of the results. In some of the short tracks, he was in the 20s and 30s at Bristol and Richmond in the springtime. He DNF'd out of both of them at lap 164 respectively. So if I was him, yeah, it's absolutely urgent, because you don't want to have to panic and stress yourself out and have to push on the short tracks where, you know, there's a lot of attrition that's possible here. But once again, for the battle for third, big run for Trudell, and I think it's because you've seen that quarter panel crunched in. Eberhardt going to be a little bit slower on corner exit with it being now a bit looser with that air taking off that tire. Oh, and trouble down the front straightaway, Evan. Rhett McBride, Michael Kuczynski is around on the front stretch.
No caution right now. It's just two cars involved, and I don't think we're going to see a yellow, as Kuczynski came off the fence and took out playoff driver Rhett McBride in a battle for P10. McBride was 10th, Kuczynski was 9th, bounced off of the fence. They both wreck. There's no yellow, though.
And you see it right there. Let's take a look at the corner exit you were talking about. Kuczynski's trying to stay up high. Right there, looks okay. Then I think he bounced off the wall down the straightaway, and it just flinged him down into McBride. Nothing McBride could have done, especially with a few laps to go. We stay green. Of note, you've seen it just before the replay. Eberhardt hit the wall as well. His car's now falling apart into P4s. The fight is back on once again with 2.5 laps to go.
Benefield really struggling, though. He hasn't been able to put it to Malik Ray like he's wanted to, and if he's going to catch him, he's going to have to make up a 1/10 of a second every single time around. 2 laps to go from Darlington. One more trip to make this one official. Better say that, because with the near incident we just saw, you never know. But the gap grows now 3/10 as Benefiel is slipping.
Just a little bit here, still about 4/10. Great exit by Ray to pull away here. And Eberhardt's completely fallen off the rails. He's all the way outside the top 5 right behind this.
He is sliding badly as you see the likes of Eberhardt now side by side with more cars as lap traffic is mixing it up with your leaders, but it is the white flag for Malik Ray. Sexton, Lariah, they'll fight to the end, but the 51 gonna put it down late in the run. He's 1/10 of a second faster than anybody else when it matters the most. It is just his 7th start of the season, but he will spoil the playoff opener for Adam Benefiel, and Malik Ray is a 3-time Full Throttle Cup winner. He wins at Darlington.
And it just seems this package and this track just seem to fit his racing style. Remember thinking back a couple years ago, Evan, where he was dominant in many different series, especially fixed series, tracks where he could play the tire game, be able to push on the long run. They fit his style, and tonight, Ray just had a strong performance this evening. Whenever he was up in the front, he just took off.
You can see all the drivers congratulate. A little bit of a bump by Gary Sexton. A lot of the drivers, especially those playoff drivers, congratulating him. Listen, those playoff guys, Justin, would love to have gotten the race win and, kind of challenged for it and gotten the points, gotten the potential lock and win, but they are here to race against the best. And Malik Ray is one of the best drivers on iRacing. So tonight, it was a great battle, and the 51 is the one that comes out on top.
And don't forget, as well, you mentioned that not just the Coke Series. Was looking at statistics today. He's actually in the top 10 all-time in victories on the service. Just that dominant of a driver in official racing, that dominant a driver in league racing, and you see part of those reasons why tonight.
The Malik Ray is your race winner from Darlington Raceway. As we take a look at your full race results, he gets the win atop of Adam Benefiel, who's the top finishing playoff driver. Kyle Trudell, Michael Lariah, Gary Sexton, your top 5. Andrew Ferdinand get it up for 6th. Eberhardt slides to 7th, along with Dylan Jones, big gains in 8th. 9th, Brian Chambliss, and your pole sitter Sam Nieto is P10.
11th spot, Eric Stanford with Grant Davis back in 12th. Quiet but good run for David Washington, mixed up inside the top 10 at some points. But Joseph Tice, strategy didn't work out for him and luck didn't work out for him. As mentioned, used an extra set of tires that he wasn't wanting to use. Only gets to 14th at the Checkered. George Krasinski and McBride, the last cars on the lead lap. But Tom Morano, Steve Sora, and Daniel Scott all off the lead lap from 1 to 3 laps respectively.
And you can see all these drivers, of course, that struggle even outside of the top 20. Same thing, multiple laps down to Bozier, Pellegrini, Mogard, Valderrama, and Kyle Kamer. Some of these drivers having some words as well post-race. So what a night from Darlington. You've got Cruz, Mara, Miller, and Durham, your top 30, with Matt Alverson 31st, and Bradley Burke getting the boot as he was black flagged and parked. He will finish 32nd out of 32 cars. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, we'll talk points and talk with your top finishers from Darlington. It's Malik Ray, the race winner in the playoff opener. You're watching the 2020 RealSimRacing Full Throttle Cup Series powered by Boosted. And back live from the virtual Darlington Raceway, where coverage of the 2020 RealSimRacing Full Throttle Cup Series playoffs are powered by Boosted, the place where gamers and creators go to monetize it digitally. Welcome back live to the post-race show on RaceSpot TV and the Guy Race City Sports Network. Myself, Evan Pasoko, Justin Prince, our producer Hugo Lewis alongside, and we're going to go trackside now and talk with the driver of the number 51 Toyota, Malik Ray, the race winner in the Boosted.Club 125 tonight. Malik, third checkered flag on 2020, but what a battle late in this one and really all night with Adam Benefiel, who had some big playoff stakes on the line. Talk us through that fight.
I just tried to make sure that I was under driving turn 3 because I can't run the outside up against the wall like everyone else can, so I'll try to turn my car down on exit so that way I'm not as close to the wall, and it helps to save my right front. And I was just trying to make sure I kept doing that lap after lap after lap, and it worked out. So
we saw earlier in the race he got on the bumper, you let him go. That didn't happen late in this one, and there was points where he was parked on that rear bumper, but it looked like fast enough to keep him behind you. This is a very difficult track in a car where a lot of guys describe it takes a lot away from the driver with the way that this package works. You talk about backing up 3. What were some of the other little things that you got to do around this joint to keep the car clean and up front like you did?
Really, you just have to make sure that you're not ever over driving the track at any point, because if you are the racing surface is so small here that if you mess up, then you're going to be in the wall pretty quick. So you got to make sure that you're under driving at all times. That way you can keep the tires under and don't ever hit the wall or anything like that.
I think it's a nice preview for tomorrow night. That is a very nice looking number 51 Toyota. Tell us about it.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So Cosman from Splash and Go, he made the design, and I think it's a base off of, I want to say Kyle's car from 2004. I think his CarQuest car, and hopefully we can get it in in Victory Lane tomorrow night. That'd mean a lot.
It looked good tonight under the lights, and I know it'll be fast as well tomorrow, Malik. Appreciate you coming out and driving. Congrats on the win, and hopefully I'll chat with you tomorrow.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Thank you.
The race winner tonight from Darlington, and of course getting ready to take on this track tomorrow night in the Coke Series, Malik Ray, 3-time winner in 2020. Second place goes to Adam Benefiel. Let's talk with the second half of that exchange. Justin, you're talking with the driver of the 83.
Yes, indeed, Adam Benefiel, a good performance tonight. First things first, Adam, talk us through that fight for the race victory between you and Malik, a driver you have a lot of respect for, as we've seen in many battles this season.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was tough. I knew Malik was going to be tough to get around there at the end, and I don't like this package. I hate it. It's like there was a bubble there, and I never could really get a run, I guess you could say, there at the end, and just kind of burned the right front off of it, so just settled with second.
Indeed, you talked about how things went for the race, but you also had a different paint scheme tonight on the race car, a kind of actually copying the look, so to speak, of, I believe, not Conti, I believe so, actually, in that regard. What came to the decision for the paint scheme tonight?
I'm in RSR. I'm with Stillhorse Racing, but I'm actually with Team Conti, and
yes,
I'm on Conti's box on Tuesday night. So we started the playoffs, and I got tired of getting points deducted for not running certain logos. So I was like, let's do a paint scheme, and I figured it was a little bit. Try to get WR1 a little bit more exposure for this year. They've done so much for Michael on the peak side, or I'm sorry, the Coca-Cola side, that it and they've also done stuff for me too. They've done a lot for our team. We've got to meet some unbelievable people and hang out with some really cool actual real world NASCAR drivers, and so I figured out I would run their logos, and they were cool with it. So it's pretty sharp looking paint scheme, and I didn't want to copy Conti exactly. I wanted to have my own little flair to it, so that's why I went with the matte finish and a little bit of chrome. Conti likes that flashy stuff too much.
Okay, that's going to be interesting to discuss, the flashy part. But a flashy finish tonight. Actually, a couple good questions. One, you mentioned the Coke race tomorrow. What should fans expect to see when you're on the box tomorrow night and trying to get your driver to victory? Because many of the drivers, including Ray, have been testing in official races in the past few days and have been lapping the field in said races in 500-mile events.
Honest to God, I mean, being in that series last year, it's just going to be about keeping your nose clean. And honestly, I feel like for me, like I got one of the best drivers in the field to do that. Michael Race is really smart. He puts himself in great positions, and then Hastings, he always got the good calls and adjustments going down. So I think it's going to be about keeping your nose clean. I feel like that we got a pretty good piece. So we'll find out what happens tomorrow night.
And next week as well, you go to Richmond for the next round of the postseason. Good points day overall, but in the end, not the victory. What's it going to take with 2 short tracks you DNF'd at earlier this season to try and break through those said tracks?
I'm going to try to do some NIS races, and I learned myself, Conti, and Dale Jr. was messing around one night at Richmond, and I actually picked up a thing or two in between the last time that we were there, and it helped me out tremendously. So hopefully I can relay that over, and it'll help me out next week, and we'll see how it goes. But man, I couldn't be more thrilled to come away with a second at this place. Starting off the chase on the right foot, so hopefully we can finish that way.
Who do you want to thank for your P2 tonight?
Yeah, just WR1, Roll Speed Dynamics, Lassiter Farms, my wife, KR Designs, her company, and her for letting me come in here and do this. All the guys at Steel Horse Racing, and all the guys over at Team Conti that let me come over here and hang out with some old friends. So, and thanks to y'all for broadcasting it. And Evan, I don't want no deductions tonight. I ran all the right logos.
Full points. You're good to go.
You heard that here, everybody. Adam Benefield, P2 tonight. Congrats.
Thank you, man.
Adam Benefield with the second place run started in 11th position, but one driver was nice and patient throughout the race. Kyle Trudell finished in P3 tonight and was willing to have a lot of give in some moments. The race, in the end, he takes home P3. Kyle, how are you feeling? Good points day tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. How you doing, guys? Thank you. Feeling pretty good about that. I just wanted to be patient and was really hoping for a green flag run. Long enough to save some tire and hopefully make my way, to the front. If I was just within the top 5, then I felt like maybe I had the speed to get there.
You're seemingly thinking a lot strategically tonight. You let drivers like Benefield, as soon as they came up to you, go. You let drivers like Eberhardt go for about 3/4 of the race. What was kind of your approach for a race such as tonight, where it's known for being aggressive on tires, aggressive on the bodywork, and aggressive, on drivers' feelings?
Yeah, too true. I just wanted to save the tires, as much as possible. Should we have gotten the green flag run and not burn them up, especially early in the runs, after these restarts. A little give and take to just hopefully be there at the end. But moving forward into the playoffs, I might need to maybe not give so much.
Next few races are ones where there is known to be a lot of take. 2 short tracks, Richmond, Bristol. Your thoughts on going to short track races to decide who moves on to the round of 12.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about Richmond. Bristol is totally, a wild card, difficult to pass. So, I think I want to just keep with my same approach. And, as long as I qualify pretty well and stay out of trouble, then I should be able to finish up front and, like you said, continue the points consistency and just keep it up.
Indeed, we'll see how you fare in Richmond, by the way. Back in the springtime, P6 was where you ran there with 4 incident points with some contact. Anyone you want to thank, though, for your very clean race tonight with minimal contact inside the top 5 all night?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks to you guys, Justin and Evan for broadcasting and obviously for this league. It's really cool to be a part of. Everybody's been really welcoming and, just to be sort of the honorable mention with these top guys is pretty cool to be a part of. Yeah, and then I'll thank the fam in here in the other room watching. Appreciate their support. That gave me a little extra energy tonight, and I want to thank them too.
Congratulations on the good run tonight, Kyle.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
That's Kyle Drudell coming home with the top 3 tonight. Good solid start to the playoff 7.
It's a great start. Of course, you get a lot of max points, and of course, it's not the win that certainly Adam Benefield would have liked to snatch from Malik Ray, but it is good points. And let's take a look at how the championship looks now with 1 week down through the round of 16. So nobody locks in, but this is how the unofficial points are following this evening. So again, what we're going to be focusing on going forwards after tonight is the top 12. So David Washington, in effect, is our bubble driver. McBride, Scott, Kamer, and Mogard with work to do. And just I don't think anybody's surprised that it's Kamer and Mogard down there because those are the 2 drivers who noticeably had the rough night. Kamer with the early spin and Mogard with the fireworks with Bradley Burke over the course of the evening.
And I think it's a gut punch, though, you have to say, for McBride because he was in a decent point position spot inside the top 9. Then he had that contact with the wall that dropped him down to about 9th after cars tried to move by him. Then, that incident, as we talked about, down the front stretch with under 5 laps to go, that was about a 10-15 point swing in the span of about 30 laps. That now puts a lot more pressure on him to perform well once again at Richmond, the action track, and hope that the action doesn't in turn send him into the wall again.
It'll be tough, and all those drivers, even if you're 10 points ahead, it feels good. Could certainly be a lot worse, but you never know. And let's talk about next week because we're going to head to Richmond Raceway. You talked about a race there earlier this year. Andrew Friedage with 2,046 points is at the top of the board. He won our earlier trip to Richmond. It wasn't Martinsville level of chaos, but we did have 4 different lead changes, 3 different leaders, and 8 yellows in that race. It was a 175 lap affair in the spring. It'll be 175 laps in the fall. Of course, Bristol the week after. We'll talk about Bristol when we get through Richmond. But we're night racing next Monday night on the 14th at Richmond. I think that Richmond and Bristol, you have to be approached the same way. And I think you heard it there when you were talking with P3 tonight in Kyle Trudell, Justin, that we're still at the point where you can give and take. You're going to approach Richmond way differently as a playoff driver than you're going to race at Martinsville later this year. And that's because, again, to get to the top 12 is a bigger net than later this year. So maybe drivers can take it easy, get to Bristol and see where they are, or we see some chaos. It is Richmond.
Yeah, I'm expecting a pretty good race once again, and similar overtones to what we've seen in the spring even. But you have to think about there's more on the line when it comes to the race next week. There's more pressure. There's more in terms of knowing you're racing for a championship. If you have 2 bad races, let's put it this way, you're likely out of the running for a championship and may need a miracle at Bristol. You have a solid points day, you're likely thinking about the round of 12 next and just wanting to survive Bristol without significant trouble. So there's different approaches going to be seen next week, and there's different driving styles we'll see next week. The question's going to be, who will take it home at Richmond?
Nobody's safe. we have no race winner for the playoffs. Malik Ray steals the show here this evening, so everybody is still fair game as the round of 16 stays. The round of 16 still looking to fill those 12 spots going forward with 1 week down and 2 still to go. That's it for us, though, here tonight from the virtual Darlington Raceway. Some fireworks, some incidents, and I wouldn't want to say a surprise winner in Malik Ray, but third of the year, but haven't seen him in a couple of weeks. A spoiler winner as the Coke Series driver steals it from Benefiel and takes that golden ticket away from him for at least 1 more week. So on behalf of our entire team at RealSimRacing, RaceBot TV, and of course for your team tonight, for our producer Hugo Luis downstairs, for Justin Prince and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Malik Ray on his 3rd win of 2020. We will see you next Monday evening, the 14th, right back here as we go racing for the round of 16 from the virtual Richmond Raceway. That race and every race of the 2020 RealSimRacing Full Throttle Cup Series powered by Boosted can be found exclusively right here on RaceBot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. We'll see you next time. Until then, good night from Darlington, where Malik Ray a winner for a 3rd time.